if you notice, most factories and most manufacturers have changed right now. And what we're leading into is a new industrial revolution. We're not seeing these factories with lines, with people. Now what we're seeing is the transition into artificial intelligence, blockchain, and eventually what we'll start seeing is massive production, right? And I think 3D printing is part of that. If you look at people like Kathy Wood with their investments, they're looking at 3D companies as well. There was a stock that we mentioned, or I mentioned in the past, was ticker symbol NNDM. And I remember when we were looking at this company, it was sitting at like 72 cents. They recently hit a high of like $14, $14 to $16. So what we want to do is maybe find stocks or companies that are going to be like this company. And one of the companies that I saw was this ticker symbol DDDX. So what I started looking at was it was trading between that 0.01619 level to that 0.025. And I just started seeing it just trading every day, just little by little. And then that stock ended up hitting high of about 23 cents. When February, March came around, there was a little bit of uncertainty when we had that pullback. And now since then, that stock has been threading that 200-day moving average and trading quite beautifully. And after that, what I noticed was they started a campaign, or they started upping their social media. When they started upping their social media, we started noticing that they were being more active. So this to me shows growth within the company. I don't know them too much, but we have the pleasure now to talk to Nicholas Coriano, and he's the VP. And I'm just going to give him the opportunity to start in a little bit, but he's an entrepreneur, VP. You can find him at Nicholas Coriano JD. He's an active shareholder and a consultant, and he's given us the pleasure to be with us. Hey, Nicholas, how are you?
How's it going? Thanks for having me, Radio.
Thank you for joining us. It was something that we've been wanting to do for quite some time, so I really appreciate it. I think it's the start of many, and hopefully we could build a great relationship.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate what you're doing. You know, I've been following you for a couple of days and a couple of weeks, actually. And I appreciate what you're doing, man, educating people in the OTC sector on, you know, what to look out for in your journey. It's a pretty cool thing, man. So we appreciate the transparency.
Thank you. I've noticed that lately you guys have been very, very active on social media. And were you active because you started seeing that you guys were getting that volume? Because I know that, you know, for quite some time you guys didn't have the social media. Is this something that you guys decided to do because you started noticing that you started getting like a loyal following as far as trading?
No, not necessarily. So I joined the company earlier this year. I come from a strong, you know, I'm 39. I know the effect of social media just on customer flow. So when you talk about getting in front of customers, you know, social media is an easy, simple way to do it. So when I joined, it was just, you know, it was obvious to me that we needed to turn on our social media. The traders are an added bonus, right? Having the ability to talk to them is an added bonus, but our focus is on, you know, building a real company and generating sales. So that's why we turned on social media. And that's why we focus most of our social media marketing on, you know, the production and products and services that we sell, as opposed to, you know, talking about our stock, which we know will catch up with our financials, right?
Right. So I'm going to let you just start off. So tell us about yourself. When you got into the business, and tell us your relationship with 3DX.
Yeah, so I'm a lifelong entrepreneur, went to business school, went to law school. I've always been involved in different businesses. I kind of semi-retired last year, buying a bunch of real estate in upstate New York, and was looking for my next adventure. I worked at Merrill Lynch, New York Stock Exchange, and then a small micro-cap investor relations firm back in 2013, 2014, before I started consulting on my own. So I love the stock market. That's why I really appreciate what you do, Radio, because educating people on this is a fantastic thing. So I was madly in love with the stock market since I was a kid. I semi-retired last year, looking for my next adventure. 3DX Industries calls me, looking for a pitch deck and a business plan. And they were looking to raise some guidance. They were looking for guidance, right, and raise some capital. By the time they were done talking to me, like a lot of my clients, they realized they needed more strategy and creativity than capital. A lot of the answers they had were already there. They're an established business. I didn't know that they were even a public company when they called me. But they have a CNC shop. I went and visited them because I played in the penny stock market a lot when I was younger. Now I like to go in and talk to management, and if there's a position there, I'll ask for a grant of shares and a position there. So that's exactly what happened. I asked for a 5% of the company and a seat on the board of directors, and I told them I will help them get them to the NASDAQ, right? And that includes building out a real business. And the only reason I took the position was because it's one of those checklist items on my list of things to do, right? I've worked on Wall Street. Now I want to take a company that's really small and help it get really big. And I've learned so many things in my consulting practice and in my entrepreneurial world that now I know some of the metrics. So that's kind of how I got to know 3DX. It was earlier this year. I flew out there once. I saw I liked what I saw. They were asking me to come on board, and I accepted. And then I went back out, and that's when you saw a lot of ramp up with the patents and some of the guys that we brought on. So yeah, that's a little bit of my background and how I got to 3DX.
Right. So we're talking a little bit about the patents, and we're talking a little bit of what they're doing as far as macro outlook. And you heard me talk a little bit about 3D and basically the revolution of industry.
Yeah.
They're probably the only OTC stock, from my knowledge, that are around.
Yeah, it's great. It's funny you say that because that's what I saw, right? I saw a sector where they were the only one. So they're already tracking, right? There's other guys that have 3D printing machines, not like us, but there's guys that have 3D printing machines, even composite, but they're not on an OTC, which means they probably want to grow. So that was very attractive to me, and the management does want to grow, right? But yeah, I'm pretty sure they might be the only 3D printing. I'm 99.9% positive, and we're also the only binder jet metal additive printer west of the Mississippi, which also brings another one. But yeah, we're the only 3D printing company on the OTC markets.
So pretty their cool. Main manufacturing, their factory, where are they at? Where is the installation located now?
So our facility's in Ferndale, Washington. It's about an hour and a half north of Seattle, about 20 minutes south of the border of Canada, in the state of Washington, United States.
And how big is that installation? Like, what's the square footage?
Maybe 50, 60,000 square feet. I'm not really good with square feet. I'll tell you, there's I want to say there's 25, 30 subtractive machines, and then another 2 3D metal printers, and then another 3 composite metal printers. So it's pretty big. If I had to put cars in there, I could probably fit, I would say, 100 cars in there.
Right. The reason I say that is because I want people to understand, the manufacturing facility and how big it is.
Yeah, and it's real, right? That's another thing with the OTC sector. That's why I went out there, because I've played on Wall Street a while, and you have to be careful. Exactly what you were saying before, Radio, which is do your due diligence, man, because these are extremely risky investments. So when I went there and I actually touched the machines and I saw the machines, and you start seeing, some of these machines are $100,000 machines, $150,000 machines, $200,000 machines. So I start, my business mind starts turning, and I start adding up all the machines in the room, and I go, man, there's a few $1 million in machines in here alone.
There you go, because that's assets. Like, I have a gym. Right. I have a gym, and I buy like Rogue equipment. I have equipment from Nebula. There's a lot of things that are worth money in there. So it's finite. You're actually buying a company that has assets, right?
Absolutely. And not only that, and the ability to get more assets cheaply, right, like their gym equipment, right? Where once it gets into the used market, you're getting it for a dime on the dollar. Same thing with the CNC and additive machinery. You could have a machinery that costs you $2 million, and then all of a sudden the guy doesn't know how to use it, or he retires and no one else knows how to use the machine, And they're like, the landlord's like, just take this machine because it's so big. Meanwhile, we can add a few $100,000 of value to our balance sheet, with a road trip and a truck.
Right. And that's the key. And I want people to understand what you're buying into is actually there. There's something tangible there.
Yeah, it's a real business. It's a real business. That was my biggest catalyst for coming on board and asking for a horse. It was making sure that there was something there that we could already charge money for. There was assets that we could liquidate if we had to. But we're growing, so we're not going to have any discussions about liquidations ever.
There you go. So now we talked about patents, and people have to understand that patents are proprietary. So I'm under the impression that you guys do have patents, and if you do have patents, what are those patents? And if you could briefly discuss a little bit about those patents.
Yeah, absolutely. So we acquired patents a few weeks ago. We have all of our news releases come out on otcmarkets.com. So for guys looking for us, we put it all there. We're not into needlessly spending money. So, we know it don't show up on all press releases, but all of our information there. So yeah, we acquired a patent portfolio from Anthony James Bredberg. He's a scientist, and he's an agronomist, and he studies soils, and he can basically tell you exactly what's in the soil. And he's also an inventor, and he created a bunch of sprinkler patents. And these sprinkler patents are interesting because what they do is, for example, if you had a lawn that was very oddly shaped, right? This sprinkler can spray 2 inches in the right corner, right? 1 inch in the left corner, a little mist in the middle, and it's mechanical. It's not electrical, which means it had the agricultural purposes are pretty broad here, because usually when you're aggregating, big fields, they're in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
So you don't have access to, electric. So this is a mechanical device that what it really does is it maps out the area that's around you, and then we go and make the nozzle for it. So by 3D printing the nozzle, this mechanical sprinkler now can shoot at the perfect angle, right, to all the locations around that it's previously mapped out. So we acquired all those patents. We also brought AJ. We call him AJ, Anthony. So we recruited AJ to be head of R&D for us, because one of my biggest takes is that you need people to build a great company. So I'm here to recruit the all-stars. That's my goal. My goal is to make the Bulls of the 1995-96 championship, right, the Lakers.
Right.
My goal is to build that out and make sure that we have all the all-stars. So here's a guy who was already making patents. He was already tinkering with metal objects, right? And we put him in position. That's what we did, right? And we built a team around him to kind of tinker in that, because we believe that there's, not just, correlated products there, or potential license deals, potential manufacturing deals, potential product sales, e-commerce sales. There's a lot that we think could happen there. So, and all those patent numbers are live on the press release. So if you just type in USPTO, search uspto.gov, that's usually where you can find, that's where you find the patents in America. And then just type in the patent numbers there, and they'll show you the designs for the nozzles. But we're regulating the nozzles, and the nozzles, there's so many ways that we can, go about that. But mainly it's going to be agricultural and consumer. That's really the kind of sector we're looking to enter there with that product.
And one of the things that you're saying with this nozzle, it has a lot to do with in the now, because think about how many droughts right now are happening in the Midwest.
This is a worldwide economy. So you got California, all these guys dealing with droughts. And then you got China and India who need to still irrigate certain parts of the country.
Right.
Right. And again, this is a mechanical sprinkler. So what it does is it allows for it to be done in a remote place with no energy. As long as there's water pressure, it'll irrigate. And so there's a lot of applications, like a lot of patents are acquired. And what happens is it's not just the patent and what the patent says, but in the application of what that patent does. Right. So here you have a nozzle that could be used on a consumer level for a lawn, but on an agricultural level for something else, or that actual nozzle underneath as a regulator, in a hydro system for something else. So it's exciting to have this proprietary knowledge, but for me, it's more exciting to have AJ and a rock star there, because businesses don't build themselves. People build businesses. So when you see a business that only has 2-3 people, and this is just general broad, maybe for those investing in OTC, one of my takeaways, if I only see one guy there, it's going to be hard to build $1 billion business with one guy.
Right.
Like, it's impossible. So, the team growth and having the right people in play, that's super important to our success. And we're super committed there. If you've been following us, we're definitely picking up a lot of traction there.
Right. And one of the things that I want listeners to understand is actually acquisitions, partnerships, joint ventures enter with patents. So you have to understand that sometimes in order for these people to do their company, sometimes they'll need access to these patents, and you guys will get paid for that. So a lot of people sometimes don't understand that, oh man, it's just a patent. No, but patents can go a long way, especially with what's happening in the now. Because I was actually looking at the news right now, massive amounts of droughts, and I was looking at stocks that
and then water shortage. Right. It's not just the drought, the actual, I guess it's implied in the one and the other, but we have a lot of water on this earth, but not a lot of clean water.
Right.
And when you're distributing clean water, then it becomes a very scarce resource. So, I mean, you don't have to explain it. Like you said, just go look up what's happening in California.
Right.
And they're all living off the Colorado River over there, and it's tough.
Right. And then it becomes a supply and demand issue. The lower the supply, higher demand, that's where money's made. And that's how...
And I want to go back. I want to touch this patent thing one more time, because you're absolutely right about, that it can lead to potential license deals with guys like, we want to talk to the big players there. So again, it's about a team, right? You can drown an opportunity all day. I can tell you all the million things we can do, but you better have someone to do it. So when we put AJ there, our intent was, go talk to the major brands like John Deere, Scotts, Home Depot, Macy Ferguson, Toro, and work out those deals, because the production capabilities are easier when you partner with somebody that has a lot of resources. But to add to the patent thing, so it's definitely a potential stream of income, but it's also an asset.
Right.
You put it on your balance sheet, right, at $1 price. So, I'm very conscious. I went to school for finance. So I'm very conscious of the balance sheet, the financial statement. And that's the real opportunity here, right? It's taking a small company that has, some kind of income already and helping them grow. So I'm excited about it.
Right. And I saw that you recently went to Orlando and you had meetings and conversations with major firms. I think you mentioned Lockheed Martin. Yeah. You had Boeing, I think you mentioned.
Yeah. Exxon, Stratus, all the. So my goal, so when I came on, right, my background's in Wall Street, finance, business consulting, maybe some real estate investing, I guess some would say, because that's where I made most of my money. But what I realized is, business is people. So to create a big business, you need people. So all the nodes for a successful $1 billion business exist. They already exist already. So if I told you, radio, I want to make the largest gym in the world, all those pieces are already there. The equipment, somebody makes the equipment, somebody has the real estate, right? Somebody has, the what do you call it, the training programs, right? Or whatever it may be, all those pieces are there. So when I got to 3DX, when I needed to, get a crash course on 3D printing, I went to the AMA conference, which is the Additive Manufacturing Conference. Additive Manufacturing, another name for 3D printing. So when I went there, I had told the executives this when I came on board. I said, look, the pieces to become a huge company are here. It's about corralling those pieces and putting them together. So when you talk about, who are potential suppliers for machines, X1, Stratus, we know them. We've had relationships with them. X1 has, 3DX has relationships with these guys. Same thing with engineers. Like, we need engineers. We've had relationships with engineers. So now it's about corralling them. So when I went there, that's exactly what I did. I went and, handed out 1,000 business cards, got 1,000 follow-ups. And now we're in this stage of following up with these guys and putting those nodes together, whether they're suppliers, whether they're machine makers, whether they're, we need 6 different kinds of engineers: application engineers, chemical engineers, mechanical engineers. So we managed to make a lot of great connections there that we're still cultivating, which is exciting, is super exciting.
So right now, 3DX is actively targeting like maybe facilities, acquisitions. Is there anything that you can talk about right now? Because I know, we don't have we can't ask forward statements, and we have to, comply with regulations. But is there anything that you can tell us right now? Hey, there's something that's in the works right now. potentially maybe just a hint of a joint venture or any type of manufacturing expansion? Do you have anything for us right now?
Yeah. So I'll say this. If you ask me, right, I think most people that are proficient in, especially in the OTC markets, right, know that small companies can grow organically or inorganically. Organically means we get more customers. Inorganically could be something external like an acquisition. So when I came, obviously that was on the table, right, is the idea that we can acquire something that's bigger than us or that has synergies in us, and that has the human resources that we need to grow a big company. So that was definitely put on the table. What I can tell you there is that we hired a head of acquisitions, and you can always reach out to him. He's on Twitter too, Harold Blackwell.
Right.
And what we did there was, again, people, right? So I can walk into any company and say, hey, you know what would be a good idea? Acquisitions. And they're like, yeah, but we're doing 20 other things.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
they're strapped because they're actually running a business. So again, back to my focus of recruiting the best. Harold Blackwell, 15 years in mergers and acquisitions, right? This guy's already doing it. He's already shopping machine shops and software companies. He's really shopping a lot of machine shops. So that's really what he's looking for. And he's looking for both additive and subtractive. Our goal is to become the largest 3D printing company, metal 3D printing company. So we're being very focused on that sector. Now, metal 3D printing is more than what it just sounds like. So not only do you need the machine aspect, you need a software aspect to turn the CAD drawing, to make sure the CAD drawing's right? You need a material scientist, what they call a metallurgist. So you have to understand how the powder that you're putting into the machine will react to the machine making that metal part. So in our acquisitions, we're looking for those pieces. Now, I will say this. The subtractive side in America is ripe for acquisition.
Right.
So when you talk about subtractive machine shops, so for those guys listening, visualize the guy that has grease on his hands and he's sweating behind this drill press, and he's taking away stuff. It's called subtractive, right? So he has a metal block. He's taking it away to make a widget, whether it's a chain link or a bearing or a metal ring, whatever this is, right? The trades in America have died. They kept telling you, don't get your hands dirty, go to college. What happens? We have a shortage of carpenters, plumbers, and more importantly, machinists right now. So you have this 50-year-old, 60-year-old guy, 70-year-old guy. He wants to retire. He wants to be out of the business already. And he has no one to sell it to because there's not that many buyers in the market because no one knows what to do with these machines. No one knows it. Unless you're an engineer and you're a machinist, you really don't know how to operate the machine. It's just a 10,000-pound weight. That's all it is, right? So I think that area is super ripe for consolidation. And I'm definitely, me and Harold have had plenty of talks about targeting those kinds of acquisitions. So when you look at Detroit, you look at Ohio, you got facilities right now that are, 5 million, 10 million in, assets, and they're sitting there just being ready to be given away. Because no one knows how to use the machinery, and there's no one proficiently trained. So I'll just say that. So what we're really looking for 5 things. We're looking to develop a team for acquisitions under Harold. So they're constantly scouting that because on our road to success, there won't be just one, right? This will be a thing. This will be a whole department. And we're looking for additive, subtractive capabilities. We're looking to acquire good teams when we do buy the company, if we do buy a company. So that way, we bring on those human resources and obviously positive cash flow. Now, as far as joint ventures and relationships, we'll have an announcement pretty soon. But what I can tell you is that one of the guys that we're bringing on to our board has a great relationship with several universities. And 3D printing was stemmed from universities. So when you look at how 3D printing came to be, it started in the universities. The universities had the first machines. So there's a lot of machines in universities right now. So we're looking for strategic relationships there, but we'll have some announcements before year end about that for sure.
Okay, so that's great. So one of the things that I did notice with you guys is that you guys revamped your website. And with the website, I see a massive picture here. Is this picture, can we say that this picture here is a picture of the actual inside where you have all the machines?
No. I wish. It's a sexy, super sexy picture. I'm glad you said that, though.
Right.
I'm glad you said that. But no, that's not. The ones that we put out on Twitter are, and so one of the things and we'll be releasing more on Twitter. Right. So when you got guys that are we can do it.
I think that's very, very important, especially with the huge bill that's just about to pass or has passed, and that's infrastructure. Anything infrastructure deals with mass production. Mass production happens through technology, and in the end, it has to deal with a lot of parts, right? Like what you're saying, and 3D printing, metal printing is a big part of that. Infrastructure. Now, I don't know if you guys, what happened during this COVID-19 time, but a lot of companies that were in need of money ended up accepting or taking or trying out for a PPP loan. Were you guys one of them? Did you guys?
They tried. They didn't get it yet.
Oh, okay.
So they're still in the mix with that. They might get it.
Right.
They haven't gotten it yet. But you want to talk about a tough time, right? When supplies get cut off and you can't deliver. Manufacturing is a 30-day net order, right? So usually what happens is a contractor or a prime contractor or a subcontractor, somebody that's licensed with all the licenses, goes to Boeing, gets a contract with the government, and then subcontracts usually to us. That's usually how it works, right?
Right.
So, and we're looking for we're looking for acquisitions that'll take care of some of those qualifications and certifications. But when that happens, usually what they say is, they give us the design, we go over the design, we approve the design, we make it, we deliver it, they pay for it. That's usually how it goes. So we're fronting the bill on a lot of the more complex builds. There's some of the smaller stuff we don't front the bill, right? The customer fronts the bill, right? And they pay for it up front. But when you have somebody that, is giving you, has given you $100,000 a year in business, you give them the net 30. So that being said, the materials during COVID got locked up in Canada. And I didn't realize this. I'm on the East Coast, so I'm in New York and Connecticut.
Right.
They're in Washington. So when I went out there was like 6 signs on the highway on the way to Canada that says, no, Canada's not letting us in. They're not letting us in, right? So a lot of the steel that they were getting from there, because they're close to there, steel is very expensive to ship. Right. So you usually go to a foundry that's closer to you because the logistics costs are cheaper. So they've had issues, in the last year with delivery and supply chain issues, right? But what I can tell you is that the CEO, Roger's a bulldog, and this is one of those guys that you can cut him 12 times and he's going to stay standing up. Right, he's going to keep fighting. So, they're doing their best to get through, those supply chain issues, which some of them are still here. Like you can see the price of lumber going up. You see the price of all these things going up. A lot of that was because of you put a 6-month strain on supply issues, and it's go back to what you said, radio, right? Supply and demand.
Right. But as we're reopening now, that should shift and that should change. Another thing that I noticed about you guys is that you help with customization. And what I mean by that is vehicles with bikes. And a lot of people don't understand that whenever you have, which deflation will eventually happen, right? Deflation happens before inflation, right? So a lot of people don't know that customization, as far as like custom bikes, custom cars, they never go out of style. Their value always stays. So do you guys work with customization? Like if somebody wants
that's
for
our
a bike or a vehicle, do you guys?
That's our only. That's our 90% of our work is customized work. Right. So like bumpers, like a bumper for a Corvette. A lot of the things that we put up on Twitter, it's because we've done those parts.
Right, I saw that.
We do a lot of restoration parts for cars. We do a lot of restoration parts for motorcycles. So when you're rebuilding a 1930 whatever tank, motorcycle, truck, whatever it is, they don't make that part anymore. Right. So they come to us and they're like, we need this part, and that's usually the same thing with oil rigs, right? The oil rigs were built back in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. The people that made the machines, the oil rigs, aren't even in business anymore. So when you talk about replacing those parts, that's us. We just did buckles for a fishing company, right? That they have the nets under the water, custom buckles that are anti-corrosive. So they're, most of our stuff is customized. But the way we see the future, by the way, is extreme customization. So when you look forward, I think that, you know, you're going to be on Amazon or eBay or Etsy, and you're going to see a picture of a metal object, and you're going to click buy now, and that object is going to be 3D printed and sent to your home.
Right.
It's not. We're not going to be moving all this inventory around the world. It doesn't make sense. So, and we plan on 3DX being at the forefront of that.
Right. That was my next question. Like, how are you going to move with technology? And I think that would be unbelievable.
That's it. So I'm looking. I'll tell you right now. So if anyone's listening, we're actively looking for a few e-commerce executives to sit on our board, because we know that that's part of the future play here. That was my pitch to the company when I came on board. It's like, this is how I see the future. Okay, you want to be a multi-billion-dollar company and really leverage in on 3D printing? This is how I see it. When you're online, when you click on a plastic or metal thing in the future, right? What's going to happen is that's going to go through a software. The software's already going to be in place. It's going to be embedded into your Amazon or your Etsy or your Facebook or wherever you're shopping. And that software will send a signal to a 3D printing machine. It'll print it out. And then that printed package, right, will get shipped out to the customer. Right. So what it does, it prevents you from making all this stuff in China and then shipping it all over the world, or making all this stuff in Brazil and shipping it all over the world. So it's going to cut down on carbon rates. It's going to cut down on efficiencies. That's where I see the future. So we're going to navigate that partly by acquisitions and partly organically. But like the software stuff, we're looking for strategic partners and potential acquisitions there that we can say, and we found them, by the way, at AMUG. We're just still massaging this scenario, right? We need to understand why we're working together and why the plan is so big. But yeah, we're looking for the software side of that for sure. And Amazon being in Seattle, the next trip I take back out there in August, I'm definitely going to lean into all the engineers that are at Amazon or that are leaving Amazon to come on and help us out with that.
Okay, so we're kind of closing in on our time. Yeah. So one thing, or just give us basically, remember that in that movie, Wolf of Wall Street, remember where he says, sell me this pen. Right now, there's a lot of traders out there that don't understand your company. They don't know about it. Tell us something that's going to entice us. Now, for me, I'm going to tell you right out the bat. What I like about you guys is, okay, you're very transparent right now. You're very active on social media. You're putting out consistent press releases. I love the share structure. You haven't messed
super transparent, by the way. 203-685-0346. That's my cell. You have a question, you can call me.
So anybody that wants to reach this man and ask him questions, they're right dead on. Another thing that I like about it is that you're not raising authorized shares, which some people would, just to raise some money. You're not taking on any toxic debt, to my knowledge, because the stock trades very, very well. And then number two, what you're saying that you guys want to go to NASDAQ. In order to be compliant with NASDAQ, you got to be $1. And you're pretty much, with the way it's trading, it looks that way. So there is going to be no reverse split, no raising authorized shares. So tell us something that, as us listening and following your company, why should we go long on your stock, on your company?
Well, I think some of the obvious things. I'm going to tell you why I did it. I'm not giving advice. I'm going to tell you why I did it, man. Yeah. Great share structure. Only 3D printing company on the OTC markets. On my own dollar, I went and flew out there to see if this company was real. It's real. There's a real company. It's tiny price for the potential growth, right? And they're building an all-star team. So, as far as, why you should buy it, don't let me buy it all. let me buy it all. And then, because my goal is, this is how I invest in businesses. A business should be an ATM for you. It should spit out cash at you. Right. That's what a business should do. At least this is my view, my personal view. Right, and a business is not a business unless it has customers. That's another view that I have of mine. So what I bought here is a business. It's a real business, and you should go long if you believe that the future is not going to be done through subtractive processes. If you believe that there is going to be a wave of people that revolutionize that, and if you believe that the people that we're bringing on can do that, because 3DX won't do it. The people at 3DX will do it. Right. And that's why we're in constant recruit mode. So for everybody listening, we have job positions available that can be remote. And we are actively looking for potential partners, potential suppliers. We're very active and open, in saying that we're in growth mode. So if you want to grow, this is what we're doing. And why else would a guy I don't have to work, right? Like I said, right. For those of you guys who don't follow me, I've already made my nut in life. I'm very happy. I'm content.
Right.
And this was just a checklist item. So I took the bet. I would hope you guys take the bet. But follow us anyway, even if you don't take the bet. Follow us for the journey so you can regret it later.
There you go. So last thing, we want to know where we can follow you. If you want to give us your social media handle, a website, or if anything that you want to share with us so they can reach out to you, what would that be?
Yeah, Twitter, 3DX Industries. You can find us 3dxindustries.com. You can find us otcmarkets.com is where we put out most of the press releases just to keep them in order. But 3dxindustries.com, the website, and 3DX Industries on Twitter. And then I'm on Twitter too, Nicholas Coriano. You can find me there.
Okay, Nick, I look forward to having you again. If you have anybody through your team that you want to throw on, let's schedule something. I'm really excited for the company based the way it trades, the way it's been trading. I love the fact that it's the only 3D company that I've seen in the OTC, low share structure, heading into industrial revolution as far as infrastructure. That's where we're heading. And now you're telling me that you guys are dealing with, growing crops and, making these nozzles. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to your timely success. And I really, really appreciate and thank you for joining us today.
No, I appreciate you, Radio Man. Thank you. And I really appreciate you. And thanks again for everything you do for these traders out here, man. It's definitely needed, man.
Awesome, brother. Take care, man. Have a great weekend.
Hey, have a great weekend. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Take care. All right, so awesome. That was pretty good. So I am excited about that company. That's one of the stocks that I don't necessarily tweet a lot. It's one of the back pocket plays that I like to kind of potentially go longer term. This is a stock that recently hit a high of 23 cents. Looking at it, there's super strong support at that 5 cent level. Now you're trading above that 200-day moving average, which is from 0.09 to 11 cents. That's a probability range. And what I mean by a probability range is that it's trading within that 20% risk. So I like the levels here. I think if these guys can come up with that kind of Amazon of 3D printing, that would be big. So let's see if, how they progress, and I'm looking forward to them. I think that Monday, when we post this, which is being recorded, we're going to post it over the weekend. I think that it's going to draw a lot of investors our way.